What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you 5 CRPGs for you to play this October that are spooky and or just kind of a horror genre in general. This is by no means a definitive list. There are plenty of other CRPGs that could potentially be on a list like this, and furthermore, these are in no particular order. They are simply 5 CRPG-style games that I think might help people get into the spirit of the Halloween season, and I thought this would be a fun video to make, so here we are. Now, first up, Wasteland 3. So, Wasteland 3 is, of course, a CRPG, but moreover, it is a post-apocalyptic CRPG that focuses on the Rangers being sent to Colorado in an attempt to secure help from a guy named Patriarch who now rules the state of Colorado in the aftermath of the post-apocalypse. Now, in addition to honestly just being a ton of fun as far as CRPGs go, it also kind of really leans into that horror aspect at times, especially places in the game like Aspen and the recently released Cult of Holy Detonation DLC that will see you dealing with all sorts of especially nasty body horror type things, as well as an area of the game called the Bazaar, which is actually a town led by the Monster Army, who like to literally dress up as vampires, ghouls, werewolves, that type of stuff. They're just human beings, but they like to dress up as those things, which is about as Halloween as it gets. Next up, we have Torment, Tides of Numenera. Now, this is primarily a narrative CRPG, meaning that while there is combat, there's not a lot of it by any means, and it's really more about the story being told. That said, it takes place on Earth, but 1 billion years in the future, meaning that an untold amount of societies have risen and fallen, and there's the detritus of old, lost technology everywhere, and they like to really lean into the, again, kind of horror side of things. There is a cult of cannibals you can meet. Later in the game, you find yourself literally inside some giant living mass whose body creates portals to other places. It's crazy. But a great game that I think would definitely serve the Halloween season. Now, third on our list, we have Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. Now, this one is a little older than the other entries on this list. However, it is a classic. Released in 2000, this takes place in the World of Darkness universe, and specifically follows the events of a French crusader known as Christophe. Now, he starts the game as just that, a wounded crusader who was forced to heal along the road while his crusader friends marched on. And in doing so, he saves the city of Prague from an infestation of vampires in the nearby mines. This draws the attention of the local vampire clans, where he is subsequently turned into a vampire himself to help them fight their unholy war. Now, this comes with a bunch of angst, really, about a crusader, a man of God, being turned into a vampire, as well as the story around him and the nun he is very much so in love with, and her transition into a vampire as well. Honestly, truly great story. Bit of a clunky game to play these days. That said, it is still fairly intuitive for as old as the game is, and for like $5 on Steam, not a bad way to go. Fourth on our list, we have Encased. Now, Encased is another post-apocalyptic CRPG. And while most of the game kind of leans into that like Fallout style, surviving the wasteland type stuff, there are parts of this game that I would say are genuinely more of a horror genre than anything else. Specifically places like the end of the prologue, which sees you entering the Nashville facility, which has had its entire inhabitants driven mad, and you get to see the story of that unfold as you navigate Nashville and try to figure out what happened. And there are parts of that game that are, I wouldn't say terrifying, just because the nature of CRPGs kind of makes being scared kind of difficult, but there are genuinely intense moments that I think very much so fit the theme of the Halloween season, and Encased is a great game I think people should check out anyway, so I think it's very much so in keeping with the season. And then, so our fifth and final entry is none other than Death Trash. Death Trash is a very interesting game. It sees humans colonizing another planet where they live in these sort of domes. However, some people will get kicked out and are thus forced to kind of live on this planet outside of the safety of these domes. And there's all sorts of like fleshy Cthulhu monsters running around. And in some ways, the combat itself kind of feels more like an action RPG more than anything else. But it still very much so has that freedom of approach to the story and how you just approach combat and things like that, and basically the way you want to build your character, which I thought was a lot of fun. And the weird, like, almost Cthulhu mythos meets weird space apocalypse is just a very interesting setting that I think people would very much so like for the Halloween season. So there you go, guys. There are 5 CRPG style games that I think would be fantastic to play during the month of October, and I hope people get a chance to check them out. So with that in mind, if you liked the video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I had a lot of fun making it and finding 5 games that I think would be fun for Halloween, frankly. So again, thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.